Hello everyone and welcome to module 2 on verbal ability and reading comprehension, that is reading comprehension. So in the first module we have talked about vocabulary and I'm sure when you are here attending this particular module आपने vocabulary module 1 पूरा अच्छी तरीके से सुन लिया है and by now you must have realized how important vocabulary is. And I'm sure there are some of the sources which I have mentioned in those videos. You are working on those words, on those vocabulary. You are building up your vocabulary as well. Now, in this particular module, today I would like to set an agenda that what this module will cover. हम इस module में क्या-क्या cover करने वाले हैं? Why reading comprehension as a module is important for all the students out there attending this particular video or listening to this particular video. In your competitive examination, what role this particular module plays as far as clearing the cutoffs are concerned for various management examination and as far as getting into one of the top B schools. So with me, Prashant, let's start module 2, that is reading comprehension. So इस comprehension module के अंदर हम लोग क्या-क्या करेंगे? If I talk about the agenda of today's session is we will start with why this is important. So मैं जो आपको module 1 के अंदर भी मैंने बात किया था that we should look forward that why people like us when you talk about all this examination, why this is important. And the obvious reason is roughly 60% of your exam is reading comprehension, right? That's the very upfront answer if I have to talk about that. Second is problem which is faced by the students, right? I'll talk about some of the common concerns which generally student faces as far as reading comprehension is concerned. Then so if I talk about the problems, the first one is vocabulary, which I have tried to address. I'm not sure, but I have tried to address in that particular module. Whether I have addressed that properly or not, that is something which you need to tell me by commenting after the video or after attending the quizzes. The second is speed. So by the way, just to update you, I've got some good feedback in the sense not about the lectures I'm talking about. I'm talking about the quizzes which you guys are appearing for, and I'm very happy to see the kind of efforts which you guys are putting in on that particular quiz module. There are students, and I have seen roughly 67% of the students who are regularly attempting the quiz right after listening the video. Keep doing that. This will definitely help you out. So vocabulary. First is the problem which faced by students is vocabulary, which we have tried to address in module 1. The next is speed, which we will address in the next 8 to 10 videos to come for sure. Then is genre. So I'm an engineering student. Considering I'm an engineering student, probably if you talk to me something about Pablo Picasso, I'm not sure of what that guy does. Is this guy is still living or he is dead? I mean, just jokes apart. पता होगा इतना तो कि he is dead. He was a famous painter, Pablo Picasso. But some of the good paintings of Picasso, or for that matter, if I talk to the engineering students, and I'm not generalizing the statement because we generally don't get into a diverse genre. अगर मैं engineering student को बोलता हूँ history पढ़ने के लिए, if I talk to them about what's the history of, let's say, Europe के अंदर what's the history of Soviet Union, or let's say if I talk about what's happening with the countries in one of the countries जो कि Soviet Union से बाहर हो गई, उनके ऊपर क्या impact पड़ा नहीं पड़ा, probably that is something which we are not interested in. Or let's say if I talk about something like on capitalism, Marxism, existentialism, so that is something genre की बात आ जाती है और वहां जाके हमें नहीं पता सर मैं क्या-क्या कवर करूं. We will talk about those things also. The next is comprehension. सर सब ठीक है, अंग्रेजी पढ़ लूंगा, मेहनत कर लूंगा, अच्छी तरीके से आपके हिसाब से प्रिपेयर भी कर लूंगा, बट कहीं ना कहीं मेरा प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है in comprehension. Whatever I am comprehending, am I comprehending correctly? And if I am comprehending the same correctly, why the questions are going wrong? Tell me, sir, tell me that. We'll talk about that also. Marking the right answer. So as I was mentioning, comprehend भी कर लिया, but question फिर भी गलत हो रहा है. मैं सिर्फ दो ऑप्शंस के अंदर मैं पूरे चार ऑप्शंस में से दो ऑप्शन एलिमिनेट कर देता हूं, बट वो दो ऑप्शन में से आई एंड अप मार्किंग द रॉन्ग वन. व्हाई? Why? I am a voracious reader. I read a lot. मैं अच्छा खासा रीडिंग करता हूँ. Then why the questions are going wrong? And the last is speed reading and importance. ये जो मैं speed reading की बात कर रहा हूँ, इसका importance क्या है, क्या काम करेगा, and how to deal with. आपने ये problem list कर दी, vocabulary, speed, genre, comprehension, marking the right answer. How to deal with that problem. Now this is basically the agenda of the module 2, that is reading comprehension, and I will address all these points in detail in reading comprehension. And if at all you think that there are any missing links in the problem faced by students, you can share your comments in the section below. Let's start. Okay, here we go. And the last thing which I have missed is, in every session of mine from this video till the last video of reading comprehension, I will pick up any one or two exams in those PPTs, and I'll talk about what these exams look like, kya aata hai, kya nahi aata, so that along with what we are doing in the content part of it, you should also know about exams, because I strongly believe that if you are going on that war front, you should know about your enemies. You should know the strength and weakness about your enemies. You should know how your enemies look like. You should know how they think. And that's where I'm talking about, that you should know about exams. Because if you are clueless about exams and you are thinking that probably I'll be talking about this in August, or let's say September, October, once the exams are there, let me tell you, the preparation which you guys are doing will not be of much use, because you should prepare accordingly. और इसीलिए मैं बोलता हूं, जब हम लोग रैंडमली कोई भी वीडियो सर्च करते हैं, कहीं पर भी हम प्रिपेयर करते हैं, यहीं पर फर्क पड़ता है कि आप एक पर्टिकुलर मेंटर से पढ़िए या एक पर्टिकुलर फ्लो के अंदर पढ़िए, सो दैट यू शुड नो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली आई एम रीडिंग, rather than going here and there, जो मैंने vocabulary के अंदर भी कवर किया था. Let's start. हमने एजेंडास की बात कर ली है, and now let's start with what exactly I'll going to cover in this particular session. Why this is important? So मैंने जो बोला, obviously a very obvious reason is that roughly, if I talk about 70% of your verbal section in competitive exams is reading comprehension. और जब मैं reading comprehension के अंदर इसकी example की बात करता हूँ, I obviously start with CAT, because CAT is considered to be the BAP of all exams. So if I talk about CAT, I'm talking about, let's say, a pre-COVID times. Generally, if I talk about 34 questions in your CAT examination, there are 24 questions on specifically reading comprehension. And typically the composition, if I have to talk about 5 passages, 5 passages आएंगे, and 5 passages will comprise of 24 questions on reading comprehension, right? Now if I talk about 24 questions on reading comprehension, generally the breakup of this reading comprehension is like this. It can be 666, 333, or it can be something like 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, or it can be anything like that, right? So it is 5 passages, 24 questions. That's when I'm talking about CAT as an examination, because सबसे ज़्यादा weightage यहीं पर आता है. और इसके अलावा अगर मैं 10 questions verbal ability के लूँगा, वहाँ verbal ability के अंदर भी reading plays a very important role, right? I have covered this in my video earlier as well. And apart from this, if you talk about IIM Indore, if you talk about Nasi Munji, if you talk about symbiosis, if you talk about Rohtak, in all these examinations, verbal sections specifically, if I'm talking about, reading comprehension is something which is there. A very, very major part of this examination is reading comprehension. That's why understanding and going through this particular module is very, very important. And the second is why reading comprehension, why competitive examination, or why these exams test you guys on reading comprehension. Because कई बार students बोलते हैं कि सर ठीक है, हम लोग पेपर क्रैक कर लेंगे, आपके साथ पढ़ भी लेंगे, but why do they test us on reading comprehension? Now let's take an example. If let's say you are going into the corporates, you will be working with the corporates, you will be future business managers, entrepreneurs, you will be in some of the top positions like CEOs, CXOs. So जब आप उन positions के अंदर जाओगे, सबसे crucial thing क्या है? That is time, right? Because at this time when we are talking about this particular century, हम इस decade के अंदर जो बात कर रहे हैं, time is of utmost importance, because your client want things in a fraction of second. The decision which you need to take probably has to be taken in that at that fraction of time, because अगर आपका decision delay हो गया, so आपके पास जो business आने वाला था शायद कोई और client लेके चला जाएगा. And इसीलिए it is very important that आपका speed, right? Because if boss is sending you the mail, or let's say if you are getting mail from the client, you have to reply fast. So if you want to reply fast, speed is of utmost importance. If boss is giving you a report saying that, let's say if you are a data analytics, if let's say you are a business analyst, right? The boss will give you, let's say, a report saying that we have to take a key decision whether we want to launch this particular product or not. Or let's say if you are into a marketing department, whether you want to go ahead with this particular sales campaign or not, you have to decide. Otherwise, your cost, your burning rate is going up, and that's where your speed will come into picture. Second, how you will decide? How you will decide? Speed. पढ़ तो लिया, मुझे समझ में कुछ नहीं आया. So I have to understand also. It's not only the speed. Speed में पढ़ लिया. What else? क्या बोलूं? मेरे पास आंसर देने के लिए कुछ नहीं है. So I have to comprehend also. And I have read it properly. I have comprehended it. And I have comprehended well in time. At last, I have to give the conclusion whether to launch that product or not. Whether to go ahead with that particular advertisement or not. So that's where when we talk about the conclusion, the logic, you have to come up with the logic. You can't just say that ये बकवास है या ये अच्छा नहीं है. The logic, boss will always ask you, give me the logic. Your shareholders will also always ask you, what is the logic behind taking the decision? And that's where speed, comprehension and logic come into picture. And that's why reading comprehension is important. I hope you guys are well versed with why I am talking about all those things. Let's move further. थोड़ा सा आगे चलते हैं. So problem faced by students, हमने इसके अंदर पहली चीज के अंदर बात की थी vocabulary के अंदर, right? और vocab के अंदर मेरा suggestion आपके साथ ये रहेगा. Suggestion 1 is module 1 vocab building on Ekoching platform, which I have tried to cover in a very exhaustive manner, in the sense that how to build up your vocabulary. So my suggestion is, if you are facing this problem, rather than starting with reading comprehension, start with vocabulary, right? Second is reading, make it a habit. As I said, 34 questions. मैं जब CAT के 34 questions की बात कर रहा था, these 34 questions हमने 24 पे बात करी थी. If I talk about 4 questions on para-jumbles, so if I talk about para-jumbles, you have to make it a coherent paragraph. To be very honest with you, reading plays a crucial role. If we talk about three questions on odd sentence para-jumbles, again, my dear students, it's all about reading. Or let's say if I'm talking about 3 questions on para-summary, again, my dear students, it is reading only. So I would say 100% of your paper is reading. And if I talk about other exams, उन exams के अंदर roughly I would say 30 to 40% is reading. Rest is your grammar and other things, right? So reading, make it a habit. Why I have said this is because आप जितना read करेंगे, the more you read, the more words you come across. So कई लोग बोलते हैं read करो, read करो, read करो. वो read करना speed तो ठीक है. The more you read, the more number of words you come across. The more number of words you come across, you will slowly and gradually, you will develop that inquisitiveness, what that word is meaning, right? So मैं कई बार बोलता हूँ, ऐसा नहीं है, चाहे आप वर्नाक्युलर मीडियम से हैं, या फिर आपको इंग्लिश इतना ग्रेट नहीं आता है, या फिर अगर आता भी है, ऐसा नहीं है कि हम पढ़ना नहीं चाहते हैं. We do realize, right? But the point is, we don't have a reading habit. The more you read, as I said, the more number of words you come across, you will have that inquisitive, what that word means, right? Sometimes you get some kind of words on WhatsApp, some kind of words on Facebook. So that inquisitiveness will lead to the different search engines we are talking about. You will search those words, and slowly and gradually, those words will be there in your memory, in your subconscious mind, and you will start recalling that words. इसका मैं आपको example देना चाहूँगा. अगर हम लोग बात करते हैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया, एंड आई एम श्योर आंखें बंद करके 4 साल के बच्चे से भी, 3 साल के बच्चे से भी पूछ लेंगे, वो भी शायद बोल देगा मिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी. क्या उस बच्चे ने स्पेसिफिकली बैठ के याद किया है? या अगर मैं बोलूंगा कैपिटल ऑफ इंडिया, आपको बताने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, इट्स न्यू दिल्ली. क्या आप लोग बैठ के याद करते हो? नो. बिकॉज व्हेन यू कम अक्रॉस टीवी चैनल, when you come across newspaper, when you talk to the people, when you talk searching about the colleges, or when you, let's say, search about India on Wikipedia, wherever you do that, the line comes as New Delhi, the national capital of India. The crime in the national capital is increasing in such a rate. The chief minister of the national capital. So it is there in our subconscious memory that it is New Delhi. And the same goes for the example when I'm talking about our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now the point is, the same thing will happen with your reading comprehension also. These words will start coming there in your subconscious mind. So reading, make it a habit. And I generally suggest students, at least, I mean, that should be out of interest, to be very honest with you. But if I talk about newspaper, that's the very basic thing. You have to start developing this habit of reading a newspaper on a daily basis. And believe me, अगर तुम सोच रहे हो या बोल रहे हो कि सर जब हम लाइव क्लासेस के अंदर डिस्कस करेंगे और या फिर जब हम हमारे यूट्यूब चैनल के अंदर डिस्कशन करेंगे और इंस्टाग्राम लाइव पे मैं जब आऊंगा, जब हम लोग डिस्कशन करते हैं वहां पर देयर आर मेनी स्टूडेंट्स हु टेक्स्ट मी कि सर रीडिंग नहीं हो पा रहा है, आई एम नॉट एबल टू रीड व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज हैपनिंग, मेरे को रीडिंग करने में मजा नहीं आ रहा है. एंड बिलीव मी, मैं उनको बहुत अपफ्रंटली बोलता हूं, शायद कैट एग्जाम क्रैक नहीं होगा. बिकॉज अगर कैट एग्जाम या अदर एग्जाम्स की बात कर रहे हैं, मैनेजमेंट एग्जाम्स की बात कर रहे हैं, रीडिंग तो आपको करनी पड़ेगी. सो न्यूज़पेपर रीडिंग, मेक इट अ हैबिट. एंड आई वुड सजेस्ट यू कैन स्टार्ट विद इंडियन एक्सप्रेस. You can read some opinions blogs on Vion, that's World is One, or you can pick up the Hindu, you can pick up these newspapers and start reading, right? So newspaper reading is the basics, I would say. You can't ignore that should be an inevitable part of your lifestyle, the way you go take breakfast, lunch and dinner. Apart from this, yes, you should go to this also. You should start reading novels, right? And my suggestion specifically for the students who are preparing for management exams, it should not be fiction, it should be typically non-fiction. Start reading, read anything guys. मैं कई बार बोलता हूँ, students बोलते हैं सर कहाँ से read करना शुरू करें? From where should I start? Don't think much, right? Yes, when you go to the blogs on Ekoching platform also, there I have given the recommendation, the beginners, the advanced and the experts. But my suggestion is start. The moment you start, and for engineers specifically, my suggestion is start with Mint. For engineers, मैं Mint क्यों बोल रहा हूँ? Because it is related to the financial news where engineers, you guys must be lacking. और जब इंटरव्यूज की बारी आती है, वैट की बारी आती है, आरसी की बारी आती है, वो हर जगह आपको हेल्प करेगा because there you are lacking that knowledge. और मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि रीडिंग आपको कहाँ पर हेल्प करेगी. रीडिंग ऑब्वियसली एग्जाम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू के अंदर तो हेल्प करेगी, एग्जाम्स के अंदर आरसी में हेल्प करेगी, एग्जाम के अंदर इट विल हेल्प यू इन वोकैबुलरी आल्सो, इट विल हेल्प यू इन योर पर्सनल इंटरव्यू, it will help you in your written ability test, it will help you in AWT which IIM Ahmedabad carries, it will help you in group discussions wherever they are, it will help you in your team building, the group task which Symbiosis, exams like Symbiosis and all take. Everywhere, believe me guys, reading will help you out, because until and unless, if I talk about PI or VAT, you don't throw the data in front of them, no. So they won't be accepting this thing. चाहे आप कितनी अच्छे कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स हो या आप कितना भी अच्छा बोलते हो, you have to throw the data, you have to talk about sense, you have to talk about logic, right? That's why reading is important. And the very important thing which I want to mention here at this point of time is preparing for CAT, ignoring vocab, a big mistake. You should not do that, right? ठीक है, आप CAT के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो, पहली बात मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ, अगर CAT के लिए भी प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो, आपको comprehension नहीं आएगा. Let's not talk about other exams. If I only talk about CAT, comprehension नहीं आएगा, right? So these are some of the problems faced by students as far as vocabulary is concerned, and that's some of the suggestions which I want to make. Okay, here I am talking about specifically speed rather than vocab. The second point is about speed. Now speed के अंदर बात करेंगे. Let's थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं हम लोग, and I want to discuss some of the things. When I'm talking about speed, students की problem किस तरीके से आते हैं speed को लेके. मैं पीपीटी अभी नहीं दिखा रहा हूं. स्पीड को लेके जनरली स्टूडेंट्स क्या क्या चीजें डिस्कस करते हैं. सो वी आर नॉट एबल टू कंप्लीट द पैसेज, दैट्स पॉइंट नंबर 1. वी आर नॉट एबल टू कंप्लीट द पैसेज, राइट? इवन इफ वी आर एबल टू कंप्लीट द पैसेज, वी आर नॉट एबल टू डू ऑन टाइम, दैट्स पॉइंट नंबर 2. हम टाइम पे नहीं कर सकते हैं. हम लोग कंप्लीट कर लेते हैं पैसेज को, टाइम पे नहीं कर पाते हैं. और या फिर अगर हमने कंप्लीट कर भी लिया तो स्पेसिफिकली कॉम्प्रीहेंशन इज वन ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम, हम उसको समझ में नहीं पाते हैं. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस सर, कई वर्ड्स ऐसे होते हैं जो ऊपर से चले जाते हैं, उसका कोई मतलब समझ में नहीं आता है, या फिर वो जो टॉपिक है सर, वो टॉपिक पढ़ने में बिल्कुल इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. गिव मी दैट नॉजिया वाला फीलिंग, राइट? आई डोंट फील लाइक रीडिंग दोस टॉपिक्स. दैट इज समथिंग, दिस टॉपिक इज नॉट ऑफ माय इंटरेस्ट एरिया. अब भैया टॉपिक अगर आपके इंटरेस्ट एरिया में नहीं है तो उनको जाके बोल दो कि मेरे इंटरेस्ट एरिया का टॉपिक लाओ, हाँ, ऐसा तो होगा नहीं. सो टॉपिक इज नॉट ऑफ माय इंटरेस्ट एरिया, एंड एट लास्ट इज टॉपिक आउट ऑफ my scope of understanding. I don't know what shit they are talking about, right? So these are some of the problem. और reading comprehension का यही दायरा है. This is all the circumference when we are talking about of reading comprehension, and generally इससे बाहर problems जाती नहीं है. Now इन सब का solution क्या है? Sir, reading, yes, reading है. What in reading? So अगर इसका ब्रह्मास्त्र हम बोलेंगे, हम ब्रह्मास्त्र इसका बोलेंगे, that's reading. Yes, the only solution is reading, reading, reading and reading. And in reading also, जो मैं यहाँ पर mention करना चाह रहा था, the diverse topics. In reading also, what I was like to mention here is, let's not delete that. We are talking about diverse topics. Now आपकी वो सारी problems solve हो जाएंगी जो मैंने लिखी थी. Let's understand how. हम बोलते हैं ना हमारे को वो फीलिंग नहीं आती है, टाइम कंप्लीट नहीं होता है, वो कैब समझ में नहीं आती है. मैं आपको इसका एक एग्जांपल देता हूं. लेट्स से अगर आपको अभी इन अपकमिंग कैट एग्जाम, इफ यू लेट्स से गेट अ पैसेज ऑन कोविड-19, एंड लेट्स से इन दिस यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट वैक्सीनेशन, you are talking about Serum Institute, you are talking about Bharat Biotech, you are talking about Sputnik, you are talking about mutation, you are talking about quarantine, you are talking about you are talking about the patent thing, you are talking about the vaccination drives for that matter, or you are talking about the cocktail drives or the cocktail vaccination, right? If I talk about all those things, I am sure जितने लोग इस वीडियो को सुन रहे हैं, आप सबको ये चीज पता होगा. अब जब आपको ये सब चीजें पता है, your reading speed increases, your comprehension increases, vocabulary not of a concern, or when you talk about that feeling, that irritation by seeing this message, gone, because that is something from the last 1.5 years we are going through, right? Remdesivir, oxygen cylinders, the dearth of all those things, quarantine, isolation, we have gone through like hell from all those vocabulary. I am very okay, sir, all this problem eliminated. I am telling you वो होगा. Now let's take one more example. हम दूसरे एग्जाम्पल के अंदर जाते हैं. We are talking about, let's say, arts and literature. अगर हम आर्ट्स, और लेट्स से नॉट आर्ट्स एंड लिटरेचर, लेट्स से अगर हम जाते हैं ऑन, लेट्स से साइकोलॉजी. अगर हम साइकोलॉजी के अंदर जाते हैं, नाउ व्हाट दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इज, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट psychoanalysis theory, they are talking about Carl Jung, they are talking about Freud, they are talking about id, they are talking about ego, they are talking about super ego, they are talking about the difference between a psychiatrist and, for that matter, psychotherapist. They are talking about they are talking about societal controls, they are talking about deviances. When we are talking about all those things, वो सारी प्रॉब्लम वापस आ जाएंगी जो मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले लिखी थी, बिकॉज दिस इज नॉट फ्रॉम योर कंफर्ट जोन, एंड दैट्स द डिफरेंस गाइस. मैंने आपको बहुत ही क्लियरली ये डिफरेंस बता दिया है. अगर रीडिंग नहीं करोगे तो कुछ मजा नहीं आएगा. सो एंड व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट कैट, दीज आर सम ऑफ द डाइवर्स टॉपिक्स जो हम लोगों को करना चाहिए as far as this thing is concerned, management exams is concerned. अब स्टूडेंट्स का नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन आता है, and what is that question? The question is, सर आपकी बात सत्य वचन, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है सर आपकी बात पे, हम बिल्कुल मानते हैं, बट मेरे को स्कूल स्टडीज मैनेज कर, मेरे को कॉलेज स्टडीज मैनेज करनी है. I have to prepare CAT. I have to ensure that I will be there in the society also, or which means my social circle also. I have to be there on Instagram also. I have to prepare for LRDI also. I have to prepare for quants also. and I have to prepare for my college exams. This is not the only thing which I have to do. क्या क्या करूंगा? आपने तो सारी लिख के रख दिया. आप हिस्ट्री की बात कर रहे हो, हिस्ट्री में क्या? आप इकोलॉजी की बात करो, इकोलॉजी में क्या? साइकोलॉजी में क्या? We will talk about it, right? So if I talk about the reading comprehension module as such, I will talk about the basics of reading comprehension. We will talk about some of the passages, how to approach the passages. Then I'll be talking about how to approach the questions. I'll also talk about the eclectic reading, which means the different genre. मैं ये सब कराने के बाद एक एक करके टॉपिक्स में आऊंगा. Not all, but I'll take 2-3 topics and I will make you understand कितना पढ़ना है. शायद हम आधे 40 मिनट के अंदर एक टॉपिक कंप्लीट कर दें, because all we are concerned with reading the basic jargons, not more than that. We don't have to read the history of a Pablo Picasso. We don't have to read the history of a Carl Jung, or for that matter Sigmund Freud. We don't have to read the whole psychoanalysis theory. But if I know the basics, I am okay with it, right? So that's what I will do. So these are some of the problems that this is how it can be solved. तो ये सारी चीजें हम लोग करेंगे आने वाली क्लासेस के अंदर. The next, अगर इसको और डिटेल के अंदर पढ़ें, comprehension and the main idea. सर पढ़ लिया, स्पीड बढ़ा ली, सब कुछ हो गया, समझना. शायद इस वजह से मेरे क्वेश्चंस गलत होते हैं. And these two things, why I am saying is, focus on why rather than what. I would not say rather than what, I would say along with what. I would say along with what, right? So focus on understanding why also along with what. क्या बोल रहे हो सर, समझ में नहीं आ रहा. So when I'm saying what and why, when I'm saying what and why, if I talk about management exams these days, या आपने जो 12th तक जो आपने unseen passages solve किए थे, वो 12th तक जो आपने unseen passages solve किए थे, उसके अंदर more or less the questions were related from the passage directly, right? You just go to the questions, go to the passage, search it out and answer is there. यहाँ पर story is different. If you go for CAT, ZAT, for that matter, यहाँ पर story is different. यहाँ पर stories, मैं जब मैं types of questions के अंदर आऊँगा, I'll talk about that. The main idea of the passage, the title of the passage, the inference of the author, we are talking about all those questions. So it's very important. You should understand why. You should understand, you should comprehend 100% of what it is given. So मैं बोलूँगा what को अगर थोड़ा कम कर सकते हो, what is mainly related to retention, that are you able to retain those questions or not, right? So अगर मैं CAT के reading comprehension को अगर मैं बोलूँ, if I talk about reading comprehension, मैं इसको generally बोलता हूँ, it is not reading comprehension, it is more or less a critical reasoning. It is more or less a critical reasoning, because when I talk about critical reasoning, they basically test our logic. They basically test our logic. You hardly find fact-based question. If I talk about CAT over the years, last 2-3 years, I'll talk about those questions also in my slides to come. 60% of the questions, 60 to 70% of the questions are nowadays logic-based rather than fact-based. So आपको why के ऊपर सबसे ज़्यादा focus करना है. Retention होना चाहिए, but मेरा major focus होना चाहिए to understand the main idea. Author बोलना क्या चाह रहा है, उसके ऊपर हमें बात करनी चाहिए, right? Again, the first and the last paragraph will give you the introduction and conclusion. That's very important. In quotes, I'm not saying that beach वाला material is not important, because कई बार students बोलते हैं सर हम लोग क्वेश्चंस पे जाएं, उसके बाद पैसेजेस पे जाएं. हालांकि वो मेरी स्लाइड्स में आएगा, मैं कैट के बारे में थोड़ा और डिटेल के अंदर बात करूंगा, because today that's what we are doing. So first and last paragraph is more important than if I talk about the beach wala paragraphs or the rest of the passage. I'm not saying they are not important, right? Structure of the passages. Now you have to start understanding that how you have to anticipate. Along with the structure, I want to mention here, you have to anticipate. When I'm saying anticipate, you have to put yourself in that author's shoes कि और ये क्या लिख सकता है, right? Because उसकी starting की lines is let's say starting on a note like, though we have vaccinated 70% of the Indian population. The moment I'm saying though 70% is Indian population, I am kind of anticipating that आगे जाके इसका contrary कुछ आने वाला है, and author will slightly or gradually will get into the negative tone. The words like however, they will give you those clues that something opposite is coming, right? So you should start anticipating the reading, and once you start anticipating the reading, guys, I am telling you, आप options भी anticipate कर सकोगे, क्वेश्चंस नहीं कर सकते, आप ऑप्शंस भी एंटिसिपेट कर पाओगे जब आप पैसेजेस सॉल्व करोगे। तो I'll show you all those tricks for sure. So ये तीन चीजें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, फोकस ऑन व्हाई, और इसके लिए पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी है। एडिटोरियल्स पढ़िए, मैगजीन्स पढ़िए, ब्लॉग्स पढ़िए, आई कम टू ऑल दोस थिंग्स। और ब्लॉग्स के बाद मेरा सजेशन है, जस्ट ट्राई टू समराइज, राइट इट डाउन, कंक्लूड दैट what exactly that author want to say, and if you want to share, I will share you my number as well. You can share with me over WhatsApp, over Telegram group which we have, the official Telegram group of Ekoching, and I will love to answer your questions there, right? Okay, and then I'm talking about marking the right answers. Sir, ये प्रॉब्लम सबसे बड़ा है, बाकी सारी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएंगी, बट इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करवाइए कि आंसर्स, राइट आंसर्स को मार्क कैसे करें। We'll talk about that too, right? And when I'm talking about marking the right answer, there are 4 things which I have to mention here. The first is passive reading. We are passive readers. Why? How can you say that? How can you, sir, put allegations on us? We are a passive reader. You can talk about yourself, not about us. Okay, sorry. When I'm talking about passive reading, why I'm saying that, the moment paper start हुआ, पहला section is verbal ability, reading comprehension. You have 60 minutes and you are like, and the first 3 passages, reading comprehension, 4 passages, blah 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 blah. वैसे हमारी इंग्लिश माशाअल्लाह है, राइट? सरकास्टिक टर्म्स के अंदर बोल रहा हूं। वैसे हमारी इंग्लिश माशाअल्लाह है, उस दिन पता नहीं क्या होता है, हमारे अंदर कोई तो आत्मा आती है, राइट? भैया ऐसे इंग्लिश निकलने लगती है दैट हम लोग मतलब हिंदुस्तानी है ही नहीं। पढ़ लिया मतलब, दो दैट पैसेज, पेपर सेटर की रिस्पेक्ट करो यार, डोंट डिसरिस्पेक्ट द पैसेज एंड द पेपर सेटर, रिस्पेक्ट इट। उसने इतनी मेहनत से पैसेज बनाया है, उसने इतनी मेहनत से क्वेश्चन लिया है, और तुमने 3 मिनट के अंदर पैसेज डन सर, लेट्स मूव टू द क्वेश्चंस, और पता लगा 5 मिनट के अंदर क्वेश्चंस भी कर डाले, क्योंकि वहां पर मेरी स्पीड को कंट्रोल करने के कुछ है ही नहीं। कॉन्स के अंदर, एलआरडीआई के अंदर मेरे को अगर सेट समझ में नहीं आ रहा है तो मैं शायद आगे नहीं बढ़ूंगा। कॉन्स के अंदर मेरे को लेट्स से कुछ फॉर्मूला नहीं आ रहा है, मैं शायद आगे नहीं बढ़ूंगा। यहां पर देयर आर नो कंट्रोल्स and I'm just moving like this, and at the last I say my paper went really fantastic, and at the end of the day what we see is the percentiles 20, 30, 40, 60, because there was no control, right? So give respect to the passage and questions will start respecting you. I repeat, passage को respect दो, give respect and take respect, give respect to the passage and questions will start respecting you, right? Passive reading, be an active reader, don't be a passive reader. You should be able to retain at least 50-60% of what is being asked. You should be able to understand at least 90%, I would say 100%, but at least 90% of what it is given, so that you don't have to come to the passages, because in CAT examination, coming back to the passages will not make any sense. If I talk about non-CAT examination, yes, you can. You can. In IIM Rohtak for that matter, or if I talk about, let's say, symbiosis or Nasimulji, there you can come, because there you will find many fact-based questions. But in CAT, no, the chances are very less. Improper time allotment. So when I'm talking about the 60 minutes, I'm talking about again a pre-COVID time. Okay, last year it was 40 minutes. So 60 minutes we are talking about 34 questions. Now these 34 questions, generally what I would suggest is, your 24 questions you should take somewhere around 40 to 45 minutes, and the other 10 questions should take somewhere around 12 to 15 odd minutes, right? Not all 10, I'm just giving you the breakup, because आप select करोगे, reject करोगे, कौन सा क्वेश्चन attempt करना है, नहीं करना है, दिमाग लगाओगे। अब point is, तुम्हें यहाँ पर 8 से 9 मिनट एक पैसेज को देना पड़ेगा along with the questions, right? और अब तुम्हें लगता है नहीं इतना कम टाइम, and I'm telling you, CAT वाले दिन तो तुम अपने फॉर्म में हो, तो कि आज IIM अहमदाबाद में तो हमारा ही कॉल आएगा, right? So control, right? So improper time allotment, disrespecting the passages. So start respecting the passage, give proper time allotment, don't be a passive reader, be an active reader, and at last, which I always believe in, eliminate. You have to be very sure of elimination. Eliminate the 3 options. Don't go for the right answer. Go that why the other 3 options won't be the right answer, and there we go, you will find the answer. right? So this is the process. So we started off, I'll just quickly go back and I'll talk about the problem faced by students which we are discussing. Vocabulary, these are some of the things. If you want, you can take the screenshot, make the notes, whatever you want to do. We were talking about vocabulary, we are talking about speed reading or reading on a diverse genre. We are then talking about comprehension and main idea. And then we are talking about marking the right answers. So these are some of the things. I am sure you guys must have taken the screenshot, and we will talk about this in detail, and I'm sure I have not missed any, right? Let's go further. Next is speed reading and its importance. Sir, ये speed reading आपकी स्लाइड के अंदर देखा था, ये क्या है? तो हमने अभी तक क्या-क्या कर लिया है, मैं उस पर एक बार आ जाता हूं फटाफट. What have we done till now? I'll just quickly come to that. So why this is important, we have covered that. Problem faced by students, and now we'll talk about speed reading and its importance, and then we talk about how to deal. हालांकि मैंने ये चीजें कवर कर दी हैं, how to deal with the problems. We'll talk about speed reading and we'll talk about exams now, right? Okay, let's move further. Now these are some of the points which I thought I'll just discuss with you guys. The first is non-CAT exams. Speed reading. अब हालांकि let's talk about CAT exams also. So CAT exams के अंदर we are talking about 5 passages. These 5 passages roughly I would say जो 3 passages जो होते हैं they are roughly 750 odd words. I'm just giving you the basic idea. 750 to 800 odd words into 3. Let's talk about 2400 words here. And then I'm talking about the rest 2 passages, typically 400 odd words, let's say, into 2. We are talking about 800 odd words here. After this, so this reading comprehension is over. And then let's say if I'm talking about para summary, 3 questions, roughly 150 odd words into 3. We are talking about 450 words here. Apart from this, if I talk about, let's say, number of questions, so 24 questions का हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं. 34 questions now. 34 questions है हमारे पास. Into we are talking about 5. 34 questions into 5 means 4 option होंगे और 1 question होगा. So when I'm talking about 34 into 5, we are talking about 150, 170 here. We are talking about 170 here. So these are the number of words we are typically talking about, and only single time reading I am talking about. Only one time reading. So it is 32, 36, 37, 38. Roughly 3800 odd words. Let's take it 4000. Let's take 4000 words. अब 4000 words को तुम divide कर लो 60 से. You divide 4000 words by 60. So what we are talking about is 200 divided by 3. That's बता देता हूं जो लोग मैथ से नहीं है. Okay, so this is the limit. We are talking about this thing. Sorry for that. We are talking about roughly 60 minutes. Roughly 60 minutes, even if you read it for the first time. We are talking about roughly 60 minutes, even if you read it for the first time. अब आप passages पे 2 बार जाते हो, 3 बार जाते हो. आप 2 बार questions पढ़ोगे, options को पढ़ोगे. अगर आप ये सारी चीजें एक बार भी पढ़ते हैं, what you need is 60 minutes. Now see, अब आप देखिए क्या आप कर पाएंगे इस चीज को लेके. अब आप देखिए मेरी रीडिंग स्पीड क्या होनी चाहिए, and this is what, my dear students, I want to make you understand, right? So CAT के अंदर भी चाहिए, right? This is how we are talking about. अब in non-CAT examination, speed reading is even more important, because if I talk about non-CAT examination, वहां पर CAT की तरह inference based question ज्यादा नहीं आएंगे, CAT या ZAT की तरह. If I talk about CAT, ZAT, Indore, and if I talk about other exams, there you won't find much inference based questions. You can just go to the questions, try to find out the answers, you can do that. So वहां पर speed reading will play a very important role if I talk about exams apart from CAT and ZAT. Extra information such as examples. So why speed reading is important, I've talked about, and how to develop that speed reading habits. So you should not go with those extra examples which are given. Get the main idea. Examples जो दिए होंगे, और अगर मेरे पास fact based questions आ गया, तो मैं example पे वापस चला जाऊंगा यार. I will go again back to the example, because that's where I can do. But if we are talking about inference based questions, going back to the passage or regression going back to the passage, तो क्या बोल रहे हैं? Regression, it won't make any sense at all. So extra information such as examples, उसको explain करना, you can eliminate. Just try and skim and scan through all those things, right? Too much data. So कई बार मैं students को बोलता हूँ, whether you need to attempt the long passages first or short passages first. And many of the times I get the answer, sir, it should always be short passages. Why? Because short passage होगा, हम जल्दी आंसर कर पाएंगे, जल्दी कंप्लीट कर पाएंगे. भैया लॉन्ग करने तो है ही. आप अगर परसेंटाइल बढ़ाने की बात कर रहे हो वर्बल सेक्शन के अंदर, बिलीव मी, वर्बल इज द, आई मीन ओवरऑल कैट परसेंटाइल को लेके अगर आपको परसेंटाइल बढ़ाना है, वर्बल इज द सेक्शन वेयर यू कैन मैक्सिमाइज योर स्कोर. Verbal is the section जहां पर स्कोर मैक्सिमाइज होता है. So when I'm talking about the passages, attempt the passages which is slightly longer. Why? Because जितना बड़ा passage, the number of questions will also be more and you will also get more marks. And जितना छोटा passage, kind of a trap can be. I'm not saying it is a general rule, but generally ऐसा होता है, right? So the exceptions are always there. So if you talk about the short passages, it might be a trap. The questions might be tough. The passage might be tough because CAT basically, as an exam, will get into psyche of the students and accordingly paper setter sets the passages. So that's why it is very very important. Words per minute, I don't have to tell you now. मैंने example दे दिया है आपको कि सिर्फ एक बार रीडिंग करनी है, आपका 60 मिनट ओवर. अब सोच लो आपको क्या करना है. Then we are talking about limited time, regression I have talked about. Type of passages जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ, larger format passages should be attempt first. और generally जो चीज आपके comfortable zone के अंदर है, you should prioritize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to prioritize. You have to go to the question paper. अगर आप पेपर देखेंगे तो राइट साइड के अंदर टैब आता है क्वेश्चन पेपर. वहां जाके देखिए. जब आप e-coaching mocks देंगे वहां देखिए what exactly should be your priority. And the last is question first or passage first. For CAT exam, ZET exam, always passage first, because going to the questions and then going to the passage will not make much sense. The only thing which you will do is waste your time. And when I'm talking about non-CAT examination like Nasing Munshi, SNAP, Rohtak for that matter, and certain other examination, there I think you can go to the questions and you will find your answer. But if you talk to me personally, on a personal level, I'll always go with the passage first, because that's where I can even retain some of the points and I can mark my answer. Because अगर आप क्वेश्चन देख रहे हो और उसके बाद पैसेज में जाके वो इंफॉर्मेशन फाइंड आउट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, you will waste a lot of time, and that is not suggested as far as cracking these competitive exams are concerned with good percentiles, right? So these are speed reading and its importance. Let's move further. What exactly so my advice to you, concluding whatever Gyan PS Baba has given to you, my advice to you is no outside Gyan while solving the questions. So question solve करने के लिए हमारी जीके वैसे अच्छी है या नहीं है, आई डोंट वांट टू कमेंट ऑन दैट, बट आई डोंट नो हम लोग पैसेज से इमोशनल अटैच्ड हो जाते हैं. पैसेज इज टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडिया एंड पाकिस्तान, इमोशनली अटैच्ड हो गए. पैसेज इज टॉकिंग अबाउट फेमिनिज्म, आई मीन गर्ल पावर विल कम इनटू पिक्चर. Passage is talking about solidarity, again all these things will come into picture. So no outside gyan, no emotional attachment, stick to the passage and your answer will be there. So मैं generally कई बार स्टूडेंट्स को बोलता हूँ, आप स्क्रीन के आगे पैसेज देख रहे हैं, you have to be there in front of screen in a way that you are reading passage for the first time. You are not aware about what's happening in the world outside, then only you will be able to find the answer, because पेपर सेटर आपके लिए ट्रैप रखता है, ठीक है. एंड द थर्ड थिंग व्हिच आई वांट टू से इज बी श्योर ऑफ एलिमिनेशन. नो थॉट्स ऑन द फोर्थ वन. Don't think much about fourth. Be sure of the elimination. I'll talk about that when we'll come to that question. So, as I said in the last, I'll also cover the exams. कि exams के अंदर क्या-क्या आएंगे. So, this is what I have done it for you guys. Just have a look. Just try to understand मैं क्या समझाना चाह रहा हूँ. So, this is CAT 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20. Last 5-year CAT exams I'm talking about. The blue one is reading comprehension. So, if you see here, a 24 question paper is, 24 questions on reading comprehension. पैरा जंबल्स जो मैंने आपको बताया. सो मैं कैट के बारे में बात करूं, कितना टेढ़ा हो सकता है एग्जाम, कितना चेंज हो सकता है. वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल दोस थिंग्स. पैरा जंबल्स 4, ऑड सेंटेंस पैरा जंबल्स अगेन 3, and summary based 3. 10 questions verbal ability. Same composition in 2017, same in 18, same in 19. यहां पर कुछ भी चेंज नहीं हुआ है. 20 पे अगर आप जाएंगे, it was a 40-minute section. So यहां पर this section limit was 60 minutes. That's 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, and 1 hour. 5 passages, 5 passages, 5 passages again, 5 passages again. Okay, so this is the breakup of verbal section. Here it's 40 minutes. From 24, 24, 24, we are moving to 18 questions here, right? On reading comprehension, and then we are talking about 8 questions here on verbal ability. More or less, percentage is still the same. Verbal ability 8 questions aa gaye yahan par, 40 minutes, right? So no difference at all cat over the years. This year IIM Ahmedabad is going to set the paper 2021. Let's see if there are any surprises or something. एक बात ध्यान रखना, अगर सरप्राइजेस हैं, the surprises are for everyone, and ये 5 साल का जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ status as far as verbal ability is concerned. So don't worry, just focus on your preparation. When we talk about the videos, my video will basically cover all these things in detail so that you can fairly score well in your CAT exam. Okay, let's move further. This is snap over the years. As I said, मैं 2 exams हर वीडियो के अंदर कवर करूंगा. This is snap over the years. अब यहां पर स्टोरी चेंज है. जो मैं बोल रहा था, मैंने मेरे फर्स्ट मॉड्यूल के अंदर बहुत एम्फेसिस करके बोला था और अभी भी मैं बोल रहा हूं, डोंट इग्नोर एनीथिंग. बच्चे बोलते ये मत कराओ, वो मत कराओ. ट्रस्ट अस, trust the faculty, because we are giving this paper every year and we know what's happening in the world around the management exams. So if I talk about snap over the years, let's talk about reading comprehension. 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? Now if you see reading comprehension, RC, 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 no RC, because reason kya hai? This was a 1 hour exam. This was a 1 hour exam because of the COVID thing and all. So यहाँ पर 3 बार RC है. RC का weightage अगर आप देखोगे, 12 questions. Here we are talking about 10 questions. We are talking about 8 questions. So this is the weightage of RC. Now the orange is vocab, symbiosis, SIBM, SCMHRD, Tech IT. किसी भी के लिए जाओ, आपको एग्जाम देना पड़ता है स्नैप. अब यहां पर आप देखो vocabulary. Good college, हाँ? अब यहां पर vocabulary का weightage देख लो, right? 19 questions vocabulary. आप vocabulary का weightage देखो कितना ज्यादा आ रहा है. That's verbal ability for you guys, right? So ये vocabulary का weightage है. यहाँ पर vocabulary का weightage सबसे ज्यादा है. यहाँ vocabulary का weightage सबसे ज्यादा है. And then you see grammar and others questions. So अगर मुझे snap के लिए preparation करना पड़ेगा, my focus has to be these 2 areas. My focus areas are these 2, RC and vocab. And that's why I said कि you should focus in totality about the exams. Not focusing on कि ठीक है, मैं मना नहीं कर रहा हूं, हमें फोकस करके जाना है, but we have to see there are other exams also which I need to take care of, and I'll be covering all those things in my videos to come, and that's why I started with the basics of vocabulary. So this is snap over the years as such, if I talk about. So with this, let's end the first session here, wherein we have talked in detail about some of the exams. We talked about CAT, snap, we talked about the problem faced by students as far as reading comprehension is concerned, or how the breakup, we have seen the breakup of the questions as far as these exams are concerned. Speed reading क्यों जरूरी है, कैसे पढ़ना चाहिए, क्या पढ़ना चाहिए, diverse reading क्या होता है, I mean eclectic reading क्या होता है. We talked about all those things. So in the next video, we'll see example कि passage को solve कैसे करेंगे. We'll see that also, and we'll also talk about the sources to read. CAT कौन-कौन से specifically sources से अपने passages लेता है over the years. Or for that matter, we'll also talk about the kind of questions which you can expect in these competitive examinations. So stay tuned and keep watching Ekoching. Thank you.